Welcome to Fishing for Bees. This is my YouTube channel on swarm catching and beekeeping. If you're new to the channel, welcome. A little bit about us is we're in Grand Rapids, Michigan. We've never purchased bees. We've never bought a queen. We've never split a colony, and I'm not anti any of those things. In 4 years, we're up to 23 catches. First couple years, our overwinter success rate was about 70%. This year it flipped. Our overwinter success rate was about 30%, and we've had some pretty significant losses. This is the yard that we keep our swarm catches in. Currently there's no bees here. We removed all the surviving bees from the winter and took them up to our apiary up in Cedar Springs, so north of Grand Rapids. I'm available anytime. I just had a guy the other day in Illinois who had a refusal to move in. You know, the bees balled underneath his trap, and we talked it through on the phone, and he had success and has Freebees now. He got a free colony. So if you need any help, you can find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm always available, and I like to talk bees or help people with their first catches. That's one of the things I really enjoy. Today's video is going to be on what I look for when I search out a place for a swarm trap. We added a new location this year, so I figured it was a good idea to go over some of the things I look for. At the end of the video, we show each trap and where they're located. So first things first, we're just going to call this one Trap 0 because we lost our bee tree in this area. We actually had to cut it down. We've caught the last 3 years there, so the tree is no longer available. This is in close proximity to the old tree. This is in the yard where we keep bees after we catch them. So there's no bees in this yard right now. This trap has no chance of catching my own bees. I like to tell you whether I think I'm catching my own bees or not. So this year's lineup, there's only one trap again currently where I can have the potential to catch my own bees. So that's Trap 5. That's in the tree stand in our apiary in Cedar Springs. All the other traps, which are 6 traps, have no chance of catching my own bees. My bees are not within distance. First, I just want to say that probably it's safe to say any place in the nation, the lower 48, it's not too late to set a trap. It may be too late to build a trap and set a trap, but I have videos on how to bait hive bodies. If you've had dead outs, please go and find my video on how to bait a hive body. Clean out your dead out and bait it like I do in that video and leave it in the exact spot you intend to keep bees. Many people have been so lucky as to catch in the exact spot they intend to keep bees. If you have multiple dead out equipment, then spread out a little bit. Head out about a mile or two, talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, and see if you can put a hive body trap there. You don't have to have dedicated swarm traps. You can catch in a hive body trap. And in fact, a hive body trap might be even better because bees have lived there for a significant amount of time and it's already well scented. Some people have indicated, we have a moderator in our Facebook group, Honeybee Swarm Catching, all one word, Honeybee, and then Swarm Catching. Mike, he's in southern Indiana and he's estimating that his season is literally a month behind. Last year we caught on May 14th here in Grand Rapids, and the 2 years before that our first catches were Memorial Day. So even if the season has already started in your area, you're in some of the southern states, it's not too late to get some traps out. And especially here in Michigan and some of these northern states, we haven't even had a scout yet. So bait a hive body or stack some nukes, get something out. It's not too late yet. One of the things I want to touch on is targeting managed bees and targeting feral bees is completely different. Targeting managed bees, or how I like to refer to them sometimes as mismanaged bees, is significantly earlier in the season. I do see people in this area catching bees, and you could be not catching your own bees, but you're catching bees from somebody who fed their bees early in the spring, built them up, and now they're swarming earlier than feral. Feral are not being fed, that's obvious, and their buildup takes significantly longer. There's a video out, I believe it's University of Florida, that talks about the swarming tendencies, and that swarming happens when there's an abundance of nectar in the environment. When we feed our bees and we stimulate them, we can push them to swarming before the environment is triggering feral colonies to swarm. So it's vastly different, and I do target feral colonies. So now I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I look for when I'm setting a trap. So first things first, obviously you want to set a trap where there are bees. Well, how do you verify that there's bees? You visit it frequently and you look for foraging bees. If there's foraging bees in the area, then there's bees close enough that will scout your trap. The distances are different. They do say that foraging can happen, 3 to 5 miles away from the host colony, and scouting happens 2 miles away from the bivouac or the host colony. So there are some differences, but if you're seeing bees in the area, that's a good sign that your traps are in the right area. So first things first, you need to verify that there's bees in the area. And this is easily done if you're doing it on your own property. If you've seen bees in the past, then you know, or if you're at your friends or families and they've seen bees in the past or you've seen bees, it's a great spot to put a swarm trap. What I look for in a location is moderate sun. I try to avoid no sun. It's set deep back in the woods and it's not getting sun. And I also am starting to try and avoid full sun. Trap 4 is a full sun trap. It has had success in the past. Its first year it caught, then it had significant scouting, and then the last 2 years is completely shut down. But I'm not going to give up on it because of other things and reasons why I've set it in the area. You'll see later in the video that it has dense growth to the south of it as far as old growth forested area, and it has success in the past. I'm starting to not like the fact that it's in full sun, but there's nothing I can do about it. I hang it on an electrical pole and it's where it is. There's no other options on that property. And I have a relationship with the property owner. So as far as expanding out and finding something in a shaded area in that location, I don't have that availability. Trap 4 is a light colored trap, though it's not my dark green traps. I wouldn't want to put my dark green trap in full sun. It gets way too hot. And in fact, I had done that early on at that location, and my starter strips that weren't tacked in at the time, they were just waxed in, melted and fell. That's how hot the trap got. So I try and avoid full sun, but you can get away with it if you have a lighter color trap. And vents. Look for water nearby. Bees want a water source. So if you're by ponds or lakes or creek beds or any of that, a water source is a good thing. On the list of pecking order, I'd say it's a little bit lower. Certainly foraging is more important, and where bees have been seen in the area is more important. As I touched on earlier, I love old growth. That's where our trap 6 has been moved to. So that's a new location this year. Very old growth, old trees, old mature trees. This area that we're at here, you wouldn't think it has mature old trees because it's a neighborhood, it's in the city, but that's not true. Some of our cities in this nation have very, very old growth trees that have the potential to have a colony in them. A tree that has a dead area to it or previous lightning strikes, those are great. So don't just think you have to go to undeveloped areas to find old growth. You can find old growth in neighborhoods that have existed in that area for a long time, and the city is a great spot. Bees want pathways. So if you're needing to travel 2 miles, are you going to walk through the woods or are you going to walk along the side of the road? Bees are no different. So you want to look for pathways. When bees are looking for a scouting area, they may want to travel a significant amount of distance and then start looking. I don't think it's necessarily in colony's best interest, and they know this, to move into an area in competition of the swarming colony. So I think they do travel significant amount of distances, and how they travel those distances is pathways. They can be man-made pathways, they can be natural pathways. So your man-made pathways obviously are the roads, but then we have things like railroad tracks and power lines. If you look at the power lines, they go on forever. And frequently people have been successful putting their traps along those pathways, and then the bees find them at distance from the swarming colony and scout them and choose them for a location. The natural pathways are going to be your creek beds and your rivers and stuff like that. And then, between man-made and natural are places that had been clear cut a long time ago and are not being farmed or managed anymore. Then they're, reverting more back to natural, but they have those clear cut lines that the bees are able to fly through and get to further locations to scout. So get your traps along those lines or within close distance to those lines, and those are great locations. Trap 4, which originally started out as Trap 2, but back to my other point, it was getting too much sun, I believe, in the dark colored box, which was Trap 2, so we switched it to Trap 4, which was a lighter color box. That trap had nothing going on for a couple years, and then when we switched it to a lighter color box, it caught 2, and it's had significant scouting ever since. The reason why I originally put it in that location is because there was beekeepers in the area previously. There weren't active beekeepers in the area. They actually had moved and sold their houses, and there was 2 of them in particular. And there, as far as I know, wasn't beekeepers currently keeping bees in the area, but bees were kept in the area. And bees get away from beekeepers, and then they may end up in a tree somewhere and able to succeed overwintering, or numerous overwintering success rates. Those are the bees I want. I want the feral bees. So when I first set it there, it was because of previous beekeepers in the area. And as I said, it was not productive in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it started catching. So as far as finding locations, you know, if you own the property, that's the easy one. Then you have to branch out into friends and family. And sometimes we can even deplete those resources, or they're just not in a location that is what we're looking for. And I'd like to go a mile or 2 from each trap so that I have intersecting circles. If I believe that there's bees in the area, then I still want to kind of target that area and have intersecting circles. But that can be difficult with just friends and family. So this year I posted on a local Facebook group in an area that I wanted to target. I'm not going to go into a great deal where my traps are or anything like that, but Google Maps told me this is an area that I wanted to target. Also, it's frequently traveled between our 2 yards, this yard and our apiary. So I've been driving through there for several years, and then all of a sudden it dawned on me, you know, why am I not trying to focus on this area? It's significant old growth. It's rolling, undulating hills. It also has a grade that empties out into the Grand River, if that makes sense. So it's kind of up high, and it has the water source and everything that I was looking for, but I knew nobody in the area. So I just made a post on a Facebook local group, explained what I was doing. I'm fortunate that I have some links to some videos that can help people understand what I'm doing. But I got to tell you, there was great interest, a lot of interest. I had people that were willing to, you know, they maybe gave me cross streets, or some even gave me an address, and it just wasn't perfect. It wasn't exactly what I wanted, because I was looking at the mileage of foraging, 2 miles. Yeah, it was intersecting with the area I was trying to target, but it was on the outside of the 2-mile circle. And then it was more agricultural than I wanted, a lot of these houses. And then all of a sudden, these people got a hold of me, and they were almost in the middle of the area that I wanted to target. And I didn't know them. And we communicated a little bit, and I met them. They got 2 young boys that are going to keep an eye on my trap for me. That's one of the things I like. I like homeowners that are interested in what I'm doing. I don't have to go and check my traps all the time. Often the homeowners are the ones that have told me of scouting activity, and then I just look at the video they send me, or I ask them to do a little bit more, and I can determine without even visiting the trap that it's being scouted. So homeowners that, or property owners that can actually keep an eye on your trap has been very, very beneficial to me. It keeps me from driving. And also, there's a lot of curiosity when you have a trap. You want to constantly come check it. I'm checking this one every day. It's close, I can get to it, but I don't have to go and drive to all 6 of my other traps to check them. So homeowners that are excited is very helpful. So I'm just going to touch on some other things that have come up. People, and I have been guilty of it myself, want to move their traps. Other people around them are catching, and they're not getting any scouting activity yet. So they've had scouts and they haven't caught, and they want to move their trap. I'm not a big fan of moving traps if I've done all those other things that I've mentioned before. Also, you have to remember, if you've had scouts at your trap and they've left and they've obviously chosen another location, eventually those locations in your area are going to be gobbled up by swarms. So the prime real estate is being picked off by these swarms. And I'm not saying that your trap or my trap isn't prime, but eventually your trap moves up on the pecking order in the area because the other ones aren't available. So your traps will become a lot more popular as the season goes on. So I have refrained from moving traps in season. And again, I'm going to back up to trap 4. Trap 4 was not productive for the longest time. I did all the research. It had everything that I wanted. It didn't even get scouts. And then last year it caught 2 times, and the homeowner is telling me he wants to beat the record this year and he wants to catch 3. So May 14th last year it caught. We're May 18th. We haven't even had a scout yet. One of the other things I like to mention is that I did not catch my first year. We had no interest in anything as far as our traps the first year. I actually got so discouraged that I thought it was nonsense that you couldn't even catch in the state of Michigan. And that's all Louisiana and Texas that people are catching bees. And I didn't even set a trap the next year. That following winter, I fell back into the YouTube vortex as far as honeybees. My wife walked through when I was watching some videos. She said, bees again. And I said, bees again. And we hung 2 traps in a hive body and we caught. So don't get discouraged. I'm going to add to that, don't compare your success to other people's success. It's pretty obvious that here in Michigan, I shouldn't be comparing to Louisiana. But I also want to strongly emphasize that you should not be comparing your success to somebody that's 20 miles away. Areas are vastly different. This yard is vastly different than the yard in Cedar Springs. Behind my wife right now who's filming, there's honeysuckle in bloom. Behind me, there's honeysuckle in bloom. It's not happening at the other yard yet. So that's 20 miles. You have to be careful to encourage yourself to be discouraged because of what other people are doing. Also, what I touched on earlier, it's not fair to compare if you're targeting feral colonies to people catching their own bees. People aren't telling you that they're catching your own bees. I'm up to 13 catches. They're not throwing in the caveat that they're catching their own bees. So be careful not to compare your successes or your scouting activity to other people's. I will also say that I have a friend who's become a friend because of the YouTube channel up in Cadillac, Michigan. And he did his own research and went even further to find out that there is speculation or some very good evidence that in the area where they grow Christmas trees, bee populations are lower. He had to drive east in Michigan, in northern Michigan. I want to say, I think he told me he went 50 miles east to areas that weren't growing Christmas trees because of what he heard. And he actually heard this from somebody that works in the environment, works in government, environmental agencies, whatever. So it was good information. He had to expand his area. And when he did that, him like me did not catch his first year. When he moved, he caught. So be careful not to get discouraged and compare your successes to other people's. So hopefully there's something in there that helps you target some different areas. The rest of this video, we're just going to show where our traps are set. Again, this is trap 0 set in our swarm catch holding yard. There is none of our bees in this area, but this particular location has caught 3 years in a row and had significant scouting. This location is a subdivision that was built in the 70s. Some of the trees are very, very, very mature, and it's got highway, airport, creeks, rivers. So it's got a lot of things going for it, but I would consider this a more city trap, and it's been very successful. So even if you live in the city, set something in your backyard. The rest of the video is just going to be on our swarm trap locations. If you've made it this far, I appreciate it. There might be something that you pick up at the other locations, so thanks for coming along for the ride. I hope your bees are well. All right, so here we go. April 21st, swarm traps are starting to go up. This is trap 1. This has always been trap 1's location. It's caught 3 out of 4 years, I think. It's caught multiple in the same year, and it's also caught our longest living swarm catch, which is going into honey production this year, their 5th season. Never requeened it, never split it. They've superseded the queen, I believe, twice. Great honey producers, angry girls. So here you go. We're changing things up a little bit. Nothing's too high. This is just 6 feet to about the doors. I did use a step stool to get the strap up. We have a video on the product I'm using this year to hang them, so that strap will be permanent. The second strap, which is for leveling and shimming, will come off after the catch. That's no need for a stool. Trap will come right off. So we're going a little bit lower this year. I haven't seen much of a difference going higher, and I'm just feel like I'm a little behind, so I want to get these traps up, and we're going to go hang another one. But a little bit about this location is it has a river nearby, it has a highway and secondary roads. So bees travel all those paths. Also, it has some tree lines. It does face some trails. And it is kind of offset in the woods, which normally I wouldn't do. I'd want it to be facing a open area, which I've done before on the other side of this field. But even though this is in the shade, it does catch, and you know, once you've caught in a tree, you like to stick with it. So this is trap one. It's the southernmost trap, and we're going to be working our way north all the way up through Kent County, Michigan. Trap number two, April 24th. This is east of Grand Rapids. It has plenty of open land. Again, it's kind of offset a little bit, but there's a real nice trail in both directions. Just a normal tree stand. I do level it and shim it, secure it in, and because I got all those starter strip frames in there, I got videos on all that. So no ag. There is a water source. There's a pond on this property. It's within scouting distance of trap one. They're intersecting circles. So it's, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 miles out, and you know, trying to keep that intersection tighter than big wide and doubling up in the same areas. I like to spread them out about 2 miles. My first year I ever caught a swarm, I was hanging traps April 23rd. Again, today is April 24th, so I feel like I'm behind, but I'm not. Entrance open. Send it at the entrance very lightly, send it at the top of the frames because I speculate that the season is still about 2 weeks out. So I'm okay with a little heavier scent. Start to bring them in while they're foraging, and hopefully they'll remember it's here. This trap in the past has only caught once. I think this will be the third season here. This is the one that I'll tell you, it has so much scouting activity and nothing ever shows up. I think there's a beekeeper in the area shaking their bivouacs down from their bees swarming that are in a tree in their property. And in that confusion, I end up with orphans at this trap. But as I said, it has caught before. And I am trying to target feral. We got some trees. Trees I like to see. The houses in this area are houses with more land, so not a subdivision or anything like that. And there's a golf course within striking distance. Also, one other thing about the location, I had a hive body trap. Maybe you've seen the video how I bait a hive body trap. That also was in the same area as this one, and that caught Memorial Day weekend 2 years ago, first catch of the season. So in 2023, Memorial Day, that trap was the first one to go off. So there's bees in the area. I've just had a lot of frustration. Off to another one. Okay, so trap number 3. We got a lake nearby. We got some secondary highways. A lot of homes with a little bit of land, so not subdivisions too much, a little bit. Not much industrial or agricultural in this area, just some hobby farms and stuff like that. So this trap did not catch for, I think, its first 3 years, and we were getting really discouraged. There used to be beekeepers in this area, so I was hoping somewhere in the old growth there was some leftover survivor stock. But 3 years we didn't catch anything. We had a little bit of scouting, but it was really a dud. And last year it caught 2, and it's starting to really pick up. So just to give you a little bit of encouragement, if you've done your research and you think there's bees in the areas, but yet you're still not catching, I'm reluctant to take the trap away because of ones like this. that just sit and do nothing, and then all of a sudden they get really, really productive. So really pretty area. It does overlook a little bit of land as far as somebody's yard. Not full sun, but it gets some good sun. I might have to trim this branches to the right here. We'll see how they bud out with leaves if it puts too much shade on it. But we're using our new system with the hook, and it was super easy. Really, really liking it. It's making life a lot easier. So I enjoy those hooks. I got a video on a review of them. So here we go. This was our most productive trap last year. Hoping for the same this year along with the homeowner. Off to another one. Okay, trap 4 is hung. The properties in this area are small hobby farms. This is similar to that. This one sits in full sun. Water source would just be minimal, just creeks. This trap has been productive. Its first year, I think this is its 4th year here. It got shut down the last 2 years, but the first year it caught a big one and had significant scouting later in the season, although we did not catch. But I keep it here. I'm a little concerned. The birds seem to like sitting on top of it, evidence of them being up there. I'm wondering if maybe it's shutting down scouting because there's some birds picking off some scouts, and this isn't the greatest location. It is completely full sun, which is not my favorite thing, but it's been productive in the past. So I like to keep it here, not within striking distance of any of my bees, never will be. So we're targeting feral and maybe mismanaged bees, but I'm going to show you why I keep it here. So you can see off in the distance all that wooded oldish growth. This is why I keep it here. There's a lot going on in this area within 2 miles. There is some commercial ag, not a ton, but there is some, but I don't keep the bees here. I just catch them here. So trap 4 is hung, and we're off to the next one. Okay, swarm trap 5 is now up. So this is the only trap that's within striking distance of my bees. Unless I catch some swarms and move them into nuke yard, then there's a trap there. But this trap is to catch other bees. This trap is not part of my swarm management, although it is here for insurance purposes in case something does swarm. Not a big fan of keeping numbers of catching 20 swarms and they're all in your own yard. So if this catches, I do investigate to see if it is my own bees. A little bit about this is it's where I caught my first swarm in a hive body trap up in, it was actually not in the tree stand, it was attached to the tree. So anyways, there is bees in this area. I believe feral bees in this area. It is where I caught my first swarm before I ever even had bees. A little bit about it is this is our bee yard, so there is next to no industrial ag, a lot of low wooded wetland, dense growth. There are some feed plots for deer and some clover in the area, but for the most part, the foraging is low wooded wetlands and forests. So very nice. That's where we like to get our honey from. So swarm trap 5 is set. There is a water source nearby, some secondary roads for bees to travel, and it's been a boy. I think it's caught every year. One of those years might have been my own bees or 2 of them, but anyways, very successful trap, giving us some good large swarms, and it's all set. Off to the next one. All right, so here we are, trap 6. New location because my tree where trap 6 normally was and is caught every year is going to be cut down. So we're just going to put a nuke trap there, 5/5 nuke trap. But anyways, this is a new location. Found them on Facebook, local community group. Just reached out to people, knew an area that I wanted to target. The area has rolling hills, very little agricultural, hobby farms, residential, and a lot of old growth trees. So I was looking at aerial maps, and this is a path that has traveled by me to get to the apiary from our other yard. So I come down here a lot. I've been driving it a lot, and for some reason I never thought too much about it, but I started paying more attention to the big old trees when the leaves were off of them this winter, and decided that maybe I should take a crack here. So it's Ada, north of Ada, and it's in between Cascade and Cedar Springs. So well traveled for me, and I didn't have a choice because I'm losing my other tree. So again, I reached out on a local community group. A lot of people reached out with interest in this area, and I chose this one based on some aerial maps that I was looking at because it looks promising. So homeowners are really super nice. They got some kids that are going to keep an eye on it for me, and I'm super excited about this one. So new prospect, trap 6, 2025. We'll see what happens.